Today we will discuss about the skull. This is the cranial wall. The soft tissue covering to the cranial wall, it is called the skull. Soft tissue covering to the cranial wall, it is called the skull. Skull has a 5 layers: skin, superficial fascia, epicranial aponeurosis, loose hairy tissue, and pericranium. So there are 5 layers of the skull. Anteriorly, the scalp, which is extend up to the superciliary arch on the both the sides, and medially into the middle part, it extend up to the root of the nose. So it is a superciliary arch. It is a part of the frontal bone, and where there is a frontal bone and nasal bone meeting, it is called the root of the nose. So anteriorly, the scalp which extend up to the superciliary arch, and laterally the scalp which is extend up to the superior temporal line, laterally it extend up to the superior temporal line, and posteriorly it is extend up to the external occipital protuberance, and on its side there is a 2 line, it is called the superior knuckle lines. This is the superior knuckle lines. Above to the superior knuckle line, this is the highest knuckle line. Sometimes it is visible, sometimes not visible. This is the highest knuckle line, and this is the lowest knuckle lines on the both the sides. So posteriorly the scalp which extend up to the external occipital protuberance, and there is a superior knuckle lines. So now we will discuss about the layer of the scalp. The scalp have 5 layers. We will discuss the first layer. Here you can see this is a first layer. We can reflect the first layer of the scalp. Here you can see this is a skin of the scalp. So this is the first layer. Skin contains the abundant amount of the hair, as well as there is a sebaceous and sweat glands. Sweat glands which are helpful to maintain the temperature, and the sebaceous gland which keeps the scalp, it secretes the scalp oily in secretions, and there is sometimes there is excessive secretions of the sebaceous gland. Clinical aspect of the first layer, whenever there is excessive secretion of the sebaceous gland, it is called the seborrhea, and sometimes there is a sebaceous gland which is blocked, it is called the sebaceous cyst. There is a formations of the sebaceous cyst. This is the blockage of the sebaceous gland, it led to there is a sebaceous cyst, and this is the excessive secretions of the sebaceous gland, it is called the seborrhea. This is the second layer, and it is the connective tissue, and this connective tissue which is divided by the fibrous septa, and this second layer which contains the abundant amount of the neurovascular bundles. So whenever there is a scalp injury which is occur, it lead to there is a profuse bleeding, and it is not stopped because normally there is a, due to this, normally it is the blood vessels which is retracted, but here there is a fibrous septa which is present, and that's why the blood vessels which is not retracted, and it lead to there is a profuse bleeding. So this is the first layer, and this is the second layer. You can see here inside the second layer there is a presence of the neurovascular bundle. Here you can see this is a vein, and this image which is inside the first layer. So this is the second layer, and we discussed already there is any injury, there is a profuse bleeding which is occur, and there is a blood vessels which is not retracted, and it retained in the straight, and it can be lead to there is a profuse bleeding, and this profuse bleeding can be stopped by the compressing the thumbs against the bone of the skull. So it is a second layer. Now we will discuss about the third layer. Here you can see this is a third layer. You can see this is the epicranial aponeurosis. This is the epicranial aponeurosis. It is very top. Here you can see this is the very top, and fiber of the epicranial aponeurosis which is goes anterior to the posteriorly, So epicranial aponeurosis anteriorly, which is merged with the frontalis bellis. It is arise from the superciliary arch and the skin, and it is a fiber of the frontalis which is merged with the epicranial aponeurosis. And the posteriorly there is a fibers, there is a coming the occipital bellis, So the third layer, it is the epicranial aponeurosis. It is the very top, and the fiber we already discussed, it goes anterior to the posterior inside the skull. Anterior to the posterior inside the skull. So it begins at the coronal sutures. I will show you over the skull. Here you can see this is a coronal sutures. So anteriorly it is merged with the frontalis belly, and posteriorly it is the blend with the occipital bellies. Here it is the area occipital bellies on the both the sides, and extend further over the external occipital protuberance, and it extend up to the highest knuckle lines. It is a extension of the epicranial aponeurosis. Laterally it extend up to the superior temporal line, epicranial aponeurosis, which is extend up to the superior temporal line, and then it becomes continuous as a temporal fascia, which is covering to the temporalis muscles, and it is attached to the upper border of the zygomatic arch. Here you can see on the opposite side there is a upper border of the zygomatic arch. So it extend up to the superior temporal line, and then it becomes continuous as a temporal fascia, and it is attached to the upper border of the zygomatic arch. So the fiber of the epicranial aponeurosis, which is goes anterior to the posterior. So whenever there is any injury into the sagittal section, there is no gap inside the epicranial aponeurosis. But whenever there is an injury in coronal way, transversely, it lead to there is a big gap seen inside the epicranial aponeurosis, because the anteriorly there is a fiber, it is called the frontalis fiber, and posteriorly fiber, it is called the occipitalis fiber. So anteriorly whenever it cut, there is a coronal section, or transversely there is a big gap seen, but whenever there is a sagittal section, there is a no gap seen. The fourth layer, here you can see this is a loose area tissue. This is the fourth layer, and the fourth layer it is called the dangerous layer of the scalp. It is called the dangerous layer of the scalp, and because the emissary veins, here you can see this emissary veins, this is a vein, not emissary vein, but the emissary veins which is connecting intracranially and extracranially. So whenever there is a any injury inside the extracranially, the blood which is goes in intracranially, that's why it is dangerous, as well as there is any infection extracranially, it goes intracranially by the emissary veins. So emissary veins, it is a connecting vein intracranially and extracranially. So, and it is open outer side inside the loose area tissue. That's why the fourth layer, it is called the dangerous layer of the scalp. Second thing, what is the advantage of this fourth layer? It is a loose area tissue. Whenever there is any bleeding intracranially, there is any injury into the scalp during the accident or fall down, at that time intracranial hemorrhage, the blood through the emissary vein, which is come out to the extracranially through the emissary vein inside the loose area tissue, and all this layer loose area tissue, which is till up to not fill up, it does not compress the brain, and it is called the septival hematoma. It is called the septival hematoma. So, and disadvantage is that whenever there is any extracranial infection, it can be transmitted to the intracranially. And whenever there is an injury inside the fourth layer, there is a swelling which is generalized, and the normal physiological swelling which is occur during the pregnancy, there is a delivery of the baby, there is a compression of the head inside the vagina or during the parturizations, and it lead to there is a generalized swelling. It is called the cephal hematoma. It is called the caput succidum. It is not cephal hematoma. It is a caput succidum, and it is generalized swelling, and it is physiological swelling. It is disappear within the week. The fifth layer, it is called the pericranium. This is the fifth layer of the scalp. It is the pericranium. What is the characteristic of the pericranium? I will show you. The pericranium, it is the shape of the bone. Here you can see this is the parieto-temporal suture. This is the frontal and parietal bone. It is called the coronal suture. Between the two parietal bone, this is the sagittal sutures. Between the parietal and occipital bone, this is the lambdoid sutures. So what happens, like this parietal bone, it is the quadrangular in shape. So the pericranium of the parietal bone through the suture, it goes inside and it becomes the endocranium. So whenever there is any injury under beneath to the fifth layer or pericranium, it is always the shape of the bone. It is always the shape of the bone, and it is called the cephal hematoma. It is called the cephal hematoma. So whenever there is any injury under beneath to the pericranium, it is called the cephal hematoma. The blood supply of the scalp anteriorly, it is supplied by the supratrochlear and supraorbital branch of the ophthalmic artery, and ophthalmic artery, it is the branch of internal carotid artery. Here there is a superficial temporal artery. Behind to the auricle, there is a posterior auricular and occipital artery. These are the arterial supply. So ultimately it is the anastomosis which is occur between the external carotid artery and internal carotid artery. The nerve supply which is supplied by the anteriorly, there is a nerve supply which is inside the front of the ear by the supratrochlear and supraorbital. It is a branches of the ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve. Here there is a at the zygomatic arch, zygomatrico-temporal nerve. Zygomatrico-temporal nerve. One it is just in front of the auricle. It is the auriculotemporal nerve, and the scalp on the posterior aspect, it is supplied by the branches of the cervical nerve. At the auricle, just below to the auricle, there is a one nerve. It is the greater auricular. It divides into the anterior and posterior division, and it supplies to the anterior as well as posterior part of the scalp. Another nerve, it is the lesser occipital nerve. It along with the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and it supplies to the posterior aspect of the scalp. The largest is the greater occipital nerve. And this greater occipital nerve, it is the mainly formed by the C3 and C2 and C3 fibers, and it is major portion of the scalp on the up to the posterior side. It is supplied by the greater occipital nerve, and there is a on the lower aspect, it is supplied by the third occipital nerve. So lower aspect of the scalp which is innervated by the third occipital nerve. Motor supply of the scalp, there are two muscles inside the scalp. One is the anteriorly frontalis muscles, and the posteriorly there is a occipitalis muscle. Frontalis muscles which is supplied by the temporal branch of the facial nerve, and the occipital bellies, it is supplied by the posterior auricular branch of the facial nerve. Lymphatic drainage in front of the ear, there is a preauricular lymph nodes, and behind to the auricle there is a postauricular lymph node, and the most posteriorly scalp which is drained by the occipital lymph nodes. So this is the about to the scalp. And what is a black eye? Whenever there is a bleeding inside the fourth layer, inside the loose area tissue, there is a blood which is goes up to the eye into the front side, and it leads to there is a black eye because there is no muscles have a bony attachment. It is a subcutaneous. Once again I will show you the layer of the scalp. This is the first layer of the scalp. It is the skin. It is the presence of the hair, sweat and sebaceous gland. This is the second layer. It is called the connective tissue, presence of the neurovascular bundles. Here you can see this is the veins, and it is divided by the fibrous septa, and there is a whenever there is a injury, profuse bleeding, and it can be stopped by pressing the thumbs. Third layer of the scalp, it is called the epicranial aponeurosis. It is the very top as compared to the other layers, and it is the very strengthy layer of the scalp. Normally all three layers, skin, connective tissue and epicranial aponeurosis, all together which is adherent to each other, but it is very difficult to separate. Whenever there is a surgical flap, we can remove all three layers which is removed. Fourth layer, it is called the loose area tissue, and it is called the dangerous layer of the scalp. And fifth layer, it is called the pericranium. Normally what happens whenever there is any sinuses, at that times there is also a headache which is occur because the common sensory nerve supply, mainly the trigeminal, and also there is a facial nerve which supplies to the all muscles of the face, as well it is supplies to the frontalis and occipitalis. So that's why it is a refer pain. Hope you enjoy the lecture of the scalp, and thank you.